care of basic human needs and giving you a hand up to help get your primary residence to a safe, sanitary, and functional condition. Basic human needs, not building it back exactly the way it was. So emergency funding to put you in a safe living environment as quickly as possible is the intention of the program.
So that would be the grant money that would take care of you in that short-term emergency situation. I'm put out of my house. I need a place to go, or I need funding for a place to go for a short amount of time. And now everything is settled and it's time to move back into my home, but I need some major repairs and either my insurance is inadequate or otherwise. So the insurance, your primary homeowner's insurance, is your first line of defense. But in the event that that's inadequate, then we can turn to the SBA and get some assistance there that will enable us to rebuild. So FEMA's grant money, short-term emergency, SBA money, more of the long-term get your life back in order.
Absolutely, especially if you have substantial damage to your home or to your business, or if you've lost everything where you're renting, then and you don't have adequate insurance, then SBA is the alternative for you to pursue to get you back where you were before. And in addition, SBA also offers mitigation for businesses, homeowners, and nonprofits. And mitigation allows you to protect your property in the event that you're flooded again, or if you can't protect it from a disaster, it'll help you do it the best that you can. You know, in some cases, you just can't escape a disaster, but it'll put you back up to a level where mitigation it'll lessen the damage.
I think one thing that we need to bring up right now is a lot of people think FEMA is waiting right outside your door. So the second the hurricane is passed or the fires or whatever, they're going to be there to hand you money. But it takes them time to come in sometimes. The roads are blocked or bridges are down. So we always say you want to make sure you have your own plan, which we were discussing before. A lot of people don't realize that ready.gov will tell you some of the things you need. You need to think in terms of what can I do for myself until help arrives. And sometimes help is your local Red Cross or something first, and then FEMA will have time to get in there, because sometimes it might take a day or so before you're in the locations, because you don't necessarily have offices nearby, right? You bring in temporary offices to assist.
So FEMA does have 10 regional offices all around the country, and they're constantly at the ready to help coordinate in support of all the states to respond to a major event, right, whether it be an earthquake, tornado, hurricane, other event, what have you. They're a large coordinating agency, so they can coordinate all across the federal government, along with state emergency management, along with county emergency managers. So they're working on that all the time. I've heard advice that is you should be ready to be on your own for 3 days. That may sound like a lot, and those of us who live in smaller living spaces, we don't have a giant house to store a week's worth of food and water for all of the people who live in our household. But you do your best. The important part is being able to communicate with family members, being able to have an emergency plan that you believe you can carry out, and making sure that you keep up with that plan. Just like you would check your personal finances all the time, you're going to check your insurance coverage, at least on a somewhat regular basis. You're going to change the batteries in your smoke detector a couple of times a year, if you remember to do that. These things should be a part of your normal process of keeping your family safe, and that's a priority for all of us. So visiting ready.gov will give you a handy checklist to run through. But I heard this story in Joplin after the tornado hit Joplin, Missouri back in 2011, and you had these separated families, and cell phone towers were largely down, but text messages were getting through. Mm-hmm. So those of you who don't like texting and you think young people are texting too much, well, at least get to know texting a little bit so that you can things like that. We're all going to post on Facebook that we're all okay. Well, what if we don't have internet access where we are? Well, we'll all call grandma because she lives 2 states over or 2 counties over or what have you. And so if you think about those simple things, just not being considered missing and knowing how to get in touch with your other family members is really reassuring to people. And then you move on to, well, how are we going to get food? How are we going to get water? FEMA can stage, and we did, in anticipation of Hurricane Matthew, a lot of food and water at military facilities nearby. So if the states requested those supplies, they could be brought in. Meals, water, cots, blankets, things like that. Luckily, in Florida, it was not a direct hit, so a lot of the stores were able to reopen very quickly. But some people still did suffer through power outages for many, many days. So some people did lose food in their refrigerators. So you want to be prepared for that. What if you did lose your food? What kind of emergency funds do you have? Money can be tight, right. But it should be part of your emergency plan of if the food does go bad in my refrigerator, what can I do to get through the next week as best you can.
Here on this show, we do like to discuss things to, our basis is knowledge and education and preparation. We're talking about residential real estate and preparing to purchase a home and being ready for that, or preparing for your financing. But this is substantially more important than that. This is preparing for disasters. And while nobody wants to think about them, I've lived through Andrew and the 4 hurricanes that hit here in 2004, and a variety of other disasters, and there's nothing like being prepared. And when you're not, and my first experience was Andrew, when we were without power for 4 days, and I lived on a well, so that meant we were without water for 4 days, and you learn a lot. And I recommend, I was unaware of ready.gov, so thank you for that, and I recommend everybody check that out and be ready for these things, because unfortunately disasters happen, and when they strike, thankfully we have organizations like FEMA to help out and the SBA to help out. But as you had said, Jean, you need to be prepared for yourself first. FEMA is going to come in the aftermath and be a wonderful resource, and that's what we're here to educate you about. But take care of yourself first and be prepared.
I saw in one of your press releases, I believe, John Mills with FEMA, it was talking about what you need to ask for contractors and roof repairs and so forth. Do you actually get involved with that if somebody needs their roof repaired, that you have a list of people who are FEMA approved or something like that?
No, there's not a FEMA endorsement of any particular contractor, but you want to listen really to your local officials, and the laws can vary by state. I saw a sign in Daytona Beach right after the storm when I was going to view some of the damage there, and it said, if you're an unlicensed contractor, you are breaking the law operating here. State law. Mm-hmm. So you want to, wherever you live, check with your local state. And there are a lot of times will be recommendations. And another good place to go, just off the top of my head, is the Better Business Bureau. Right. So you can check out companies, but you want to, there's some tips like don't pay all the cash in advance. Mm-hmm. Right. Maybe you want to use somebody who's in town, but know that in a big storm, you'll have people coming from around the country saying, hey, I'll get your roof repaired, cheapest deal in town. Right. He might just take the money and leave town. Right. So you want to check it out, but talk to other people who've been through something similar and what lessons they learned, because you will have people who will come in from out of town to do the work.
And that's a place where, Jean, you, Waterby Realty, and other real estate agents and stuff have a lot of knowledge and experience with contractors and with things like this. We've lived through these storms, and we've seen what can happen. And it's not just storms. Again, we're here in Florida, so I speak to hurricanes, but this would apply to earthquakes or to tornadoes or nor'easters, if that's what they're called in the Northeast. And all of you snowbirds, feel free to come to Florida and enjoy our warm weather. Our hurricane season is over. Is it officially over? Or it's just about over anyway. So come join us here. But Doris, I wanted to turn back to you for a minute, because one of the things I want to just be clear on, that on these SBA loans, it's partially for physical damage. So you have some damage to your property and you can't, and your insurance may not cover it or whatnot. But I also understand there's money available for economic injury, meaning loss of income. And can you help explain that a little bit?
Sure. The SBA offers a loan that's geared toward working capital. It's called the Economic Injury Loan. And what that loan does, you can borrow up to $2 million. That's independent of the other business loan that SBA offers, which is for physical damage done to real estate or loss of machinery or equipment, inventory, services, whatever your business is. But with the economic injury loan, that allows businesses to be able to put money back in. If they have been closed or if they were shut down, if they lost, for example, I spoke with someone, a business owner who had an ice cream shop, and the loss of power. So they didn't have any power. So about $10,000 worth of ice cream was basically lost.
Became ice water.
And and they were shut down for a while. So not only would SBA come in with their business loan to help take care of the physical damage done to the property, because they also suffered physical damage, as well as inventory, which was the ice cream. But because they were shut down for a period of time, they lost revenue and money, which is where the economic injury loan comes in.
What about employee wages? Is there either a grant money or SBA loan that would pay employees while they're out of work in case the building was destroyed?
No, SBA only covers disaster loans where it affects physical damage, loss of personal property, machinery and equipment, or working capital.
I want to make two comments on that. One, I do want to get a quick plug in for the Florida Hardest Hit program. We've talked about it on prior shows, and there is a free workshop coming up Friday, December 2nd at the Goodwill Industries of Central Florida here in West Melbourne, Florida, and you can go to goodwillcfl.org for more information. And that workshop is going to be talking about the Florida Hardest Hit Fund, which is mortgage payment assistance for unemployed or underemployed homeowners. And you can go to laclaw.com. There is a link to the Florida Hardest Hit Fund to learn more information. And the reason I bring that up, Jean, is because there may be assistance available for those who might have short-term unemployment due to the disaster. So they're unable to work because of this disaster, and there is funding available for that. But that's not through SBA or through the fund. But I want to come back to the economic injury, because when we were talking off air, Doris, you had made a comment that I thought was very interesting. It's not merely injury that I've occurred, so the ice cream melted and I've lost some income, but you also said that it could affect if one of my suppliers was affected by a storm. So I'm fine and I wasn't directly affected, but a supplier of my inventory has been affected. I may be able to obtain assistance. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It could be the county that was next to the county that was hit, but there was no damage done in that county, but that county may have been providing services for businesses that were shut down, and because they were not able to send their goods to the next state, then they would be eligible for the economic injury loan. Not only the county next by, it could be in another state where if you actually, if you have a state, let's say New York, and basically in New York, you're shipping a lot of your things down to this area, and because of the hurricane, you haven't been able to ship anything, so you've lost money. So that person is eligible for the economic injury loan. And another great thing about the economic injury loan is it's not as time sensitive as the other business loans and the homeowners and the renters to apply. And the reason for that is it's not always apparent when a business has suffered economic loss, whether right there physically in the disaster or a company that may be in the next county or the next state, doing business. So the economic injury loans give you that opportunity for the businesses to be able to assess what they need.
Great. Thank you. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we are getting close on time, and I want to make sure people know how to find this information. So where would they go for the SBA information if they're looking?
Oh, okay. We have a 1-800 number. It's 1-800-659-2955. That is SBA's customer service number. Our hours are from 8 to 8:30 in the evening, so we have great customer service representatives. Also, the website. We have the website is www.sbadisaster.gov.
Okay. And John Mills with the FEMA, would you give us your information as well?
Sure. So you can download the FEMA app at any of the app stores, okay? It's got all the information that's on ready.gov. Hundreds of thousands of people have downloaded the FEMA app already in 2016. So consider doing that. You can go to ready.gov as well. That also has preparedness information, and you can read about FEMA at FEMA.gov.
That is great, and we'll post this on our website as well at yourhometownsolutions.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's John Mills with FEMA and Doris Evans with the SBA. And again, ready yourself for any kind of disaster coming up. You can get all that information at ready.gov. And we thank you for joining us today, learning all about how to protect yourself during and after a disaster.